Hey, what's up, guys? LegalBro here, breaking down the newest CoffeeZilla versus Logan Paul drama. Is Logan selling fake farm animals in a fake land, or did he get duped? CoffeeZilla's calling fraud. Let's break it down. As you guys know, I'm a class action attorney. This type of potential scam would fall under that umbrella. The reason why class actions are so powerful is that if one individual person were to bring a claim against a company or against an individual, typically that one claim of $100, $1,000, $10,000 is not enough to move the needle. But if you take a group of people represented by one personal representative and you bring it against a company or an insurance company or a corporation or an individual, well, now you have the power, right? One person versus an entire class of people, you're more apt to take it seriously. And oh, by the way, all of the ones we do are contingent, meaning we're putting up my money, not yours. This part's extremely interesting. Logan Paul talking about how much money is going into this project, all things that could be discoverable. Let's hear what else he has to say.
Personally, the whole team, $1 million plus.
We had an issue with CryptoZoo, where our lead developer took the code that he made, fled to Switzerland, and like held it hostage for $1 million.
He never.
Whew, God, it's great to see people talking about this type of stuff on the record. Why? Because this will all be discoverable. So what do you do in this type of case? Well, what you would do is you would sue all of the people in charge, right? You'd sue the company. And then what you'd do is you'd start looking through and investigating the story. So what Logan Paul is saying is that the developer took the idea overseas to a place, right? Why would he talk about Switzerland? Well, Switzerland is known. It doesn't extradite people, meaning they can't get them back here. And the other thing is all of their accounts are going to be unfrozen. In a place like Switzerland, money laundering, stuff like that, I don't want to say it goes on all the time, but anywho, so what we're looking at here is we've got Logan Paul talking about how this person has fled and held it hostage for $1 million. Well, that seems like it would be pretty easy to verify, right? Because there'd be emails, there would be text messages, there would be other channels of communication. And oh, by the way, how else do we find it? Well, we could just depose the developer that went to Switzerland, right? Just because he's in Switzerland, he may still be held accountable. I've never deposed anyone in Switzerland, but I would assume if you have a proper notice, right, under the Hague Convention, you could still drag him into a deposition. Heck, he might even be willing to give an affidavit to say, yeah, no, I never even got paid.
Paid anything at all, ever. Eddie promised me, 5% of the tokens and $1 million. He literally never paid.
This reporter says Eddie's entire story is fake.
The biggest reason it failed, in my opinion.
Doug, I'm not the bad guy here.
Yeah.
There's some actual out there.
Yeah.
And it's not me. Like, I'm here to build.
Jakey, you already know the rules, kid. Before you ever open your big mouth, you should have called your lawyer, because he would have told you, do not promise something that you can't substantiate. You were still letting people buy tokens at this fantasy zoo land, knowing that it was a bunch of bull, and you're still taking people's money from it.
And quote, he has to spend that $350 million somewhere. Why not us? And Logan says, I love that idea. Crypto King, I'm in. And of course, you have Jeff saying, let's go. So you can see right there, they wanted to sell this game before it had even launched. Now later, Eddie amends the list of investors and says, quote, investors will be Gary Vee, Todd Morley, James Altucher, Ryan Kavanaugh, and others, confirmed on my end. Supposedly, they had $100 million of investment interest. Now, I actually went to some of these investors and asked if this was true, and the one person who responded denied it, Ryan Kavanaugh. Quote, nope, not even a little bit. So this looks like it could be yet another lie from Eddie Ibanez, but either way, it looks like there was more issues than just finding investors, because the team wanted to pre-sell tokens, and not everyone was sure it would be legal. Jake the Crypto King mentions that, quote, if we have a pre-sale, it opens us up to SEC issues. And Jeff agrees and says, don't want to do anything that brings the SEC.
Yikes. How do we know when we've got something fishy going on? When you have someone deliberately putting into a text message, hey, yeah, we could get some SEC attention, so why don't we get a little bit creative? Well, guess what? Even if you don't violate the SEC, even if you don't get charged criminally, you could still be held liable in a civil court and still owe money to the people that you scammed. Let's find out what other genius ideas these guys have.
Eyeballs. Now, not everyone wanted to be so cautious, though. Logan argues everyone does pre-sale with coins. Eddie agrees. He says, you absolutely can do it. I have the SEC down, private and pre-sale. And honestly, it was quite the dilemma for this team who wanted money. Do a pre-sale, make millions, but you have these potential legal issues. Don't do it, you make less money. So Crypto King comes up with a middle solution. He says, if we can't sell, no pre-sale. We can still trade them in the liquidity pool. And this is the start of a new disaster, which takes a bit of explaining. Now, just so we're clear, a pre-sale is where you sell investors coins, usually at a discount, before you've launched. And then when you launch, you give them those coins. Now, like I said, the team didn't want to do that. So what they did instead was they bought the tokens on the open market right after launch. But they tried to get clever with it because they didn't actually announce that they were launching this coin at all. They stealth launched it on June 11th and didn't announce this token through Logan until August 18th, meaning they had all that time to silently buy up as much.
That is by far and away one of the greasiest, sleaziest things that I've ever heard. Absolutely disgusting. All of the consumers that lost money should be enraged that somebody would have the audacity to do something like that. Just imagine for a second, folks. Imagine if SpaceX, when they go to launch, Elon Musk says, you know what? Instead of doing an IPO and instead of making this above board, what we're going to do is we're going to release it and then we're going to wait. And once everybody that we know has had the ability to buy as much as they want and to get in as far as they want, then what we're going to do is we're going to then take those and put them into this new coin and then sell it to the general public. Now, at first glance, slightly feels like a pump and dump, boys. What have you guys been doing to your consumers over there? Absolutely disgusting
much
behavior.
Of the supply at a steep discount as they wanted. And the idea here was that doing this, the team could get these tokens extremely cheaply, which is kind of like a pre-sale, but without all the SEC troubles. And Crypto King makes this clear on June 7th when he says, quote, launch of the liquidity pool is where huge money will be made because you get in cheaper. And then says, we, the team, begin buying out the liquidity pool. Once the team has exhausted funds for the liquidity pool buying, we send the contract address to friends, family, investors who want to be able to get in. So obviously the plan is we buy first, then we give it to our close friends and family, and then maybe the public eventually, right?
This scheme would make the Wolf of Wall Street blush. Literally, what they're doing is they're going to give them self-access, and then, oh, by the way, let's make our family rich too. And then we'll go ahead and all of the people that follow us, that believe in us, that have frankly made you rich, you just take advantage. Those hardworking people, you're going to steal basically directly from their family's kitchen table and bring it back to your mansion. Absolutely despicable.
I finally revealed that I knew he had sold.
I'm gonna change this whole fucking story. Yeah, I'll go on the record for you, and yes, I'm gonna show you the text message that say we can sell at these ascending market caps. And
wait a minute.
These guys have an internal communication amongst all of the founders that they're not going to sell X amount to affect the market. You can't do that, folks. You can't. There are certain rules when it comes to offerings to the public. You can't sit here and say, I think what would be a really good idea is we're going to create our own rules to manipulate the price of this coin. Now, sure, there are times when you say, hey, we're about to release our earnings for Q4 and we think that our sales are up, so therefore the price is going up. So you can't have somebody with that insider knowledge buying off of that. So at these Fortune 100 companies, and really for anybody that's publicly traded, any of the people on their legal, accounting, finance departments that are high up that know what's going on with earnings and things like that, they do have certain periods of time where you can buy and sell, right? They've got these restrictions, but they can't sit here and say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to cap you at 3% because we don't want the market to be affected. Why? Because it would potentially alter the price. That is not okay. You can't do that. And especially, it makes it feel even dirtier because these are internal communications amongst people that have the ability to affect the market.
literally, I'm 100%. It sounds like your biggest issue with me is that I sold. And if that's your biggest issue with me, that's the truth.
Wow, that is a big admission. Selling tokens for a project that you're an advisor on when the project has never been delivered. Although Crypto King insists that it wasn't $6 million and he wasn't trying to rug a project. In fact, really, he might be the one who got screwed over in all of this.
Like, I I did sell. I didn't sell $6 million worth. That's going to be other wallets, but that's probably not going to be able to be me being able to be proven, except for them saying, can you send BNB to all these different wallets for me? Which that I'll be able to show you that I was giving BNB to the whole team. I'll also be able to show you that I was a 5%.
Wait a second, folks. So you're telling me that they've got internal memos, white paper that shows Eddie and Logan are only in for $600K combined? That's the expense pool, not 1 million or however much he said. That already strikes me as fishy, because if you lie about the little things, they're lying about the big things. Possibly. We're going to find out.
Holder of the Zoo tokens that I was promised to be given over the 3-month period was never given. I can also show you that I was frozen out and was never given the 15 billion tokens back that I paid for in cash. So
Okay.
I can show you all of those things on the record, and then you can also say,
Now, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but he's essentially complaining, these guys blocked me out, right? Imagine doing some illegal conduct. He's not going to be running to the feds to say, hey, look I know this was all potentially illegal, but I need you to get my money back because these guys even scammed me. I don't think that Crypto King is going to get his money back, but I think he'll do okay. I think his return at this point on 200,000 is in the millions.
Or my phone calls, and we're just going to have to leave it there. But we're not done with the money just yet, because we still need to talk about the eggs.
So the first thing that you do if you are a class action lawyer is you are trying to put all the pieces together and investigate. CoffeeZilla does an excellent job investigating. I love watching him talk about all of the different things that he finds. CoffeeZilla is absolutely phenomenal at investigating and finding these things. But what is also super important is what CoffeeZilla does next, which is he finds actual people to hear their story, how they were misled, how they were falsely advertised a bunch of nonsense, how the community that they were trying to join into, they had no idea that it was fake, right? Because someone that is in this type of position is going to say, well, look, there's risk involved, but you can't sell me something that you know is dog, right? You've got a duty to make sure that what you are selling to consumers is actually something that they can buy. Otherwise, what you're doing is you are being deceptive. You cannot sell something that doesn't exist or you have no intention of creating. Just give them their money back. That's what he needs to do. That's the right thing. Give the consumers their money back. That's what Logan Paul needs to do. Give these consumers their money back. Otherwise, we're probably going to find out that you may not have ever had the ability to build what you were selling. So let's hear from some of the consumers. Let's hear their stories.
Deciding who's to blame, or me deciding what you should think, I want to give them the last word.
Everyone's to blame. Logan, in the sense of his poor management, is his project. He still made these promises to people.
I think everyone it is to blame, including Logan Paul, of course, because he was the one in charge of this, and he was responsible for all of this mess.
Everybody has a big part and a massive cross to bear.
Each one of them scammed the project in their own way, and then off to the sunset they went.
And that's the important part here, folks. When you are representing consumers versus a company, right? Consumers versus an individual. We don't really care if Logan's only 40% and maybe Eddie's 10 and maybe the manager's 20 and maybe Crypto King there is another 5. We don't care. We're not going to apportion fault at that level. Those guys in a separate action can do that. They can point the finger at each other and say, hey, look, we just got nailed for 50 million, right? I'm making up a number. Hey, we just got nailed for this amount of money. I'm only, my portion of that fault should only be X, right? And that's what a lot of the settlement communication happens when you have multiple parties involved, is that everybody's got to come to the table and usually agree to something. And oh, by the way, this type of case, only about 2 to 4% would ever make it to trial. Most of this would settle outside of court. And the whole point here, folks, is to make the consumers whole again. So we need to get the money back from the Logan Paul Zoo and back into the consumers' pockets as much as possible. And if Logan decides to double down the same way that SBF does, well, what's he going to do? He'll continue to ramble and open his mouth. Cannot wait to see it. If anybody has a link to that, comment it below. If anybody has any other NFTs they want us to talk about, any other types of deceptive, unfair, misleading, anywhere where consumers are getting screwed, comment below, give us a like, give us a sub, take a look up here. We're going to be talking about some more NFT rug pull type videos. Thanks guys, LegalBro out.